If you ask a local what cities you should visit on the Peloponnese, rarely will they tell you that you should go to Corinth. Of course, there are places worth visiting around the city, such as the Corinth Canal, the Diolkos and some museums of the area, but as surprising as it may be, according to locals, Corinth itself is of no interest to a foreign tourist. But if you ask me, I would say they are entirely wrong to think so. In this video, we'll speak about the city and its history, visit the most important historical places in the area, and we'll see what you can do and where you can go if you happen to have a couple of days in Corinth.
So, what do we know about Corinth? The modern city of Corinth was established 167 years ago, in 1858, and was initially called New Corinth to distinguish it from its predecessor, Ancient Corinth. Today, its population is about 38,000 people. It has a cargo port, important for local industry and agriculture, a campus of the University of Peloponnese, and a hospital that provides healthcare services not only to its residents, but also to people living in the surrounding areas. It is also a big industrial hub at a national level. The Corinth refinery, situated to the east of the city and, thank God, is not visible from Corinth, is one of the largest oil refining industrial complexes in Europe. The country's pride and shame in one, I would say. Why is it a shame? Well, ask the locals. Many of them are not happy at all to breathe the poisonous fumes of sulfur dioxide and other hazardous air pollutants coming from its pipes 24/7. The refinery is visible from the western shore of the Saronic Gulf, adding this nasty industrial look to the landscape. Imagine bathing in the sea looking at this. Of course, it's jobs for locals, but also an ugly sight. But those industrial views are the problem of the towns and villages of the Saronic Gulf, and not of Corinth. If you are in Corinth, what you see from the waterfront is the Gerania Mountains and the beautiful Gulf of Corinth at their feet. Corinth has also a nice long beach with a variety of restaurants and shops, which looks especially nice in high season. The beach here is long and wide and awarded, with multiple umbrellas, showers and changing rooms. There are several pedestrian streets that stretch from north to south, from the main square, the one with the Pegasus statue, and in the direction of Acrocorinth. Walking down the streets, it's difficult to lose the sight of Acrocorinth, as the streets in this district are all perpendicular, and those which go from north to south offer incredible vistas to the sea in the north and to the hill of Acrocorinth in the south. One of these streets hosts an excellent fish market, unsurpassed by many in the neighboring towns. There are several fish stalls selling fresh fish and various kinds of seafood like shrimp, prawns, calamari, mussels, and so on. And of course, the city's main landmark is the statue of Pegasus in the central square, Eleftherios Venizelos Square, which faces the hill on which the Acropolis of the ancient city is perched.
The white-winged stallion was the symbol of ancient Corinth and appeared on their coins and pottery from the 7th century BC onward. Pegasus was born from the severed head of Medusa Gorgona and Poseidon and was considered a symbol of water. According to another version, he was born from the mix of blood of Medusa and the sea foam created by Poseidon. But why is Pegasus the symbol of Corinth? According to a myth, there was a hero named Bellerophon who was given impossible tasks by a king, and one of his tasks was to kill a terrible monster named Chimera. Worried but determined, Bellerophon asked a wise seer to help him, and this seer suggested that he should sleep in Athena's temple. In a dream, the goddess appeared and gave him a golden bridle to tame Pegasus, the legendary winged horse. The next day, Bellerophon found Pegasus at a spring in Corinth called the Pierian Spring, and with the help of this bridle, he managed to tame the horse. With Pegasus, Bellerophon soared into the sky and defeated Chimera from above. His victories made him famous and a little bit too proud. Believing he could reach the realm of the gods, he soared to the Mount Olympus itself. But Zeus punished his arrogance. Bellerophon fell down to the ground, while Pegasus continued upward, where Zeus made him his thunderbolt carrier.
After the devastating earthquake of 1928, Corinth was rebuilt according to a grid pattern, allowing for this incredible vista of ancient Corinth in the background if you stand with your back to the Gulf. As the city suffered enormous damage, the government decided not to rebuild it on the ruins of the old town, but to move it slightly northeast. The rebuilding followed a rational urban plan, one of the earliest examples of systematic urban replanning in 20th century Greece. Instead of the irregular, organic layout of the older town, now the streets were laid out in a rectangular grid. Roads were planned to connect directly to the port, the railway, and the Corinth Canal, supporting trade and transportation. Another important feature was the creation of wide open spaces, such as Eleftherios Venizelos Square and City Hall Square. Seemingly, the plan prioritized safety and functionality, and not the aesthetics. And that is probably why we have surprisingly few trees and flower beds. The lack of greenery is felt strongly on hot summer days. Back then, resources were scarce. Greece in the late 1920s was also dealing with the economic strain of the Asia Minor refugee crisis and the Great Depression soon after, and landscaping and ornamental planting were unfortunately secondary luxuries. The situation hasn't changed much since then, and this lack of green spaces is evident not only in Corinth but also in many other Greek cities and towns. To crown it all, the climate in Greece and the local soil make planting quite challenging. Trees planted along the broad, sun-exposed streets and squares often struggle to survive because of dry, salty air and strong winds. During 1960s and 1970s, Greece was experiencing an economic boom. This is when the majority of these multi-story buildings were built to replace older, lower houses. They are the same throughout the country, and Corinth is no exception. There was another series of earthquakes in 1981 that altered the city's appearance. Many older buildings that had not been reinforced cracked or collapsed. In response to the earthquakes in 1984, Greece introduced stricter anti-seismic building regulations. New constructions had to follow reinforced concrete standards, better foundations, and height limitations, which explains why most of modern Corinth buildings from the late 1980s onward look solid but plain. Thanks to all these changes throughout the previous century, many locals began to view Corinth as a safe, open, practical city rather than a picturesque one, which partially explains why Corinth is a surprising tourist destination in their eyes. As environmental awareness grew, the city started adapting its streets and public areas to be more pedestrian-friendly and sustainable. The waterfront has been made more accessible for pedestrians and cyclists, providing a connection to nearby beaches. I would say that bicycle lanes are still rare in Greece, but Corinth is lucky to have a decent, though still bare, cycling and running area. The area around the old train station, abandoned for decades, is now being turned into a park with a playground. Unfortunately, lack of maintenance and neglect make the space look sadder than it otherwise would, yet it is better to have this than another asphalted parking square. And speaking about parking in Corinth, it may get problematic. There is this huge parking space at the northeast side of the city, where you usually will be able to find a parking space, but mind that you may have to walk a lot to get to the town, as it is swamped on working days, especially in the morning. There are also private parking lots, and one of them is conveniently tucked between the port and the university. But if you want to park in the city and not to pay for parking, be ready that it won't be easy at all. If you come to Corinth, don't expect to see a resort. Unlike the neighboring Loutraki, Corinth is a busy city where many Greeks live, work, and study, making it more of a place for doing business than for resting. And yet, there is a pleasant waterfront promenade with a good pebbled beach, equipped with all the basics for a great day at the beach. There are nice beach bars in high season where you can rent a sun lounge and drink a mojito or a freddo cappuccino. You don't have to pay for anything if you don't want to, as some minimum shade is provided by the stationary umbrellas and fluffy tamarisks that grow along the beach, so you may just throw your towel and enjoy the sun and the sea for free if you wish. There are some good places to eat in the city center, and the prices here will pleasantly surprise you if you compare them to those in Athens or on some popular islands. I guess this is because Corinth is still a city for locals rather than for tourists, and that's awesome in its own way. The people here are no less friendly than in any other Greek city, the food is no less tasty, and the views of the sea and the mountains can still take your breath away. What should you see if you happen to be in Corinth? Ancient Corinth. Ancient Corinth is situated behind the modern city of Corinth, near the village called Archaeocorinthos. This is the actual ancient city of Corinth, which was destroyed by the Romans in 146 BC and rebuilt later by Julius Caesar as a Roman colony, became an important Byzantine city, suffered Arab raids, came under Frankish and then Ottoman rule, returned back to Greek hands until it was destroyed by a powerful earthquake in 1858. As a result, a new city was established closer to the seashore. Ancient Corinth is just a 15-minute drive from Corinth, but if you don't have a car, there is a CTEL bus that departs from the CTEL bus station in Corinth every hour or so. Historically, ancient Corinth, or obviously just Corinth, as people called it in those days, was a prosperous city. Its fertile lands contributed to the development of agriculture and intense commercial activity. Syracuse in Sicily, which is now an Italian city, was one of its many colonies founded back in the 8th century BC. The economic prosperity of the city reached its peak during the 7th and the 6th centuries BC under the administration of the tyrant Sepselos and his son Periander. From the late 6th century BC, however, the rise of Athens and its dominance in pottery production and Mediterranean trade gradually limited the influence of the Corinthians, especially after the Persian Wars, where, despite their strong participation, they were forced to accept the primacy of the Athenians. In 146 BC, Lucius Momys defeated the Achaean League, a federation of Greek city-states in the Peloponnese to which ancient Corinth belonged, in the Battle of Corinth. This confrontation led directly to the destruction of Corinth and the Roman annexation of the Greek province of Achaia. About 100 years later, in 44 BC, Julius Caesar decided to re-establish Corinth as a Roman colony, recognizing its particular geographical importance. Due to its desolation, the city was initially settled by freed Romans and veteran soldiers, who were soon joined by Greeks, who took advantage of the particularly fertile land confiscated by Rome and granted to new landless people. Rome's goal was, on the one hand, to create a stable Roman base in the turbulent East, and, on the other hand, to facilitate the passage of the Roman fleet through the Diolkos, the paved route for ships that crossed the Isthmus. Very soon, the population of the city increased significantly, and the city prospered again. The phrase of Horace, "Not every man is lucky enough to go to Corinth," reflects the prosperity of the city and the high cost of living there. In 1204, the city was occupied by the Franks, then by the Ottomans. Then there was a short period of Venetian rule, which was succeeded again by the Ottoman occupation until the latter were driven out of the Greek lands. If you come to the archaeological side of ancient Corinth, don't miss out on visiting the museum. There are things to see. The entrance fee is 15 euros, and in my opinion, the experience is totally worth the money.
I know there are many people who say that they don't understand what is so fascinating about broken columns and remnants of old buildings. And there are other people, like me, who find such places as ancient Corinth extremely fascinating. I think it has to do with the sense of human continuity. They remind me that civilizations rise, flourish, and fade, yet human creativity persists.
And they awaken me a sense of belonging when you can be in the same place under the same sky as the people who lived thousands of years ago. Corinth is a great place to feel it. It is saturated with history. It's a place where millions of other humans lived and loved and pursued their dreams throughout thousands of years. And perhaps this feeling of belonging to something great, something that has been here for so many centuries, is a glimpse of immortality in a way. Acrocorinth. Acrocorinth is a fortified hill that rises above ancient Corinth and can be seen from many places in Corinth, as well as from the opposite side of the Corinthian Gulf. It is a separate archaeological site, but not a separate city. Actually, it is the Acropolis, or a citadel of ancient Corinth. It has fortifications from classical, Byzantine, Venetian, and Ottoman times, and boasts gorgeous views of the valley and the gulf below. Unlike ancient Corinth's archaeological site and museum, Acrocorinth has no admission fee. The parking in front of its gates is also free. The site is quite big and involves an ascent of about 500 meters, but it's worth it, as when you're at the top, you'll be rewarded with the sweeping views of the plain below. The ancient ports of Corinth. Ancient Corinth had two principal ports, Lehion on the Corinthian Gulf and Sancre or Kekris on the Saronic Gulf. Kekris served as an ancient Corinth's eastern harbor, opening onto the Saronic Gulf, while its western counterpart, Lehion, looked toward the Corinthian Gulf. Through Lehion, Corinth was connected to the Ionian Sea and the western Mediterranean, whereas Kekris provided access to the Aegean Sea, Asia Minor, and the wider eastern Mediterranean world. The remains of these ports can still be seen today. Both ports played a vital role in the development of ancient Corinth, fostering trade and the exchange of goods, and helped turn the city into one of the wealthiest in ancient Greece. The port of Lehion was situated several kilometers northwest of ancient Corinth, on the Corinthian Gulf. A broad paved road called Lehio Street, which you can't miss if you visit the archaeological site of ancient Corinth, once led directly from the market of ancient Corinth to this port. Today, some harbor structures, small walls, and submerged quays are visible. Most of the port's remains now lie underwater. To get to the port of Lehion, take the old national road E65 northwest from modern Corinth toward the coast. Look for signs for Lehion or ancient Corinth harbor. Unfortunately, there isn't a public bus to Lehion, but if you don't have a car, you can take a CTEL bus from Corinth to nearby villages along the coast and walk. And if you want to go on foot from Corinth, it will take you about an hour, but I won't call it a pleasant walk, as you will have to go along a busy road. The second port of Corinth, the port of Kekris, was its eastern port and was situated about 8 kilometers east of the city on the Saronic Gulf. Today, there is a small archaeological site with no entrance fee where you can see the remains of harbor structures, breakwaters, and ancient quays. To To get to the place, take the old Corinth-Athens road eastward, then follow local signs for Kekris or ancient Corinth's eastern port. The Archaeological Museum of Isthmia. The Archaeological Museum of Isthmia is probably another place you'd like to visit if you are in the area. It's not in Corinth, but rather in the neighboring town of Isthmia, but it's definitely worth the time and effort, as it's a very interesting museum in which you'll learn a lot about the history of the region. The entrance fee is €5. In this museum, you'll see artifacts collected from different places in the region, including the Sanctuary of Poseidon, the Roman baths of the area, the Hill of Raki in Isthmia, and the port of Kekris that I have already mentioned a bit earlier. Of course, it's good to visit all these places and to explore the archaeological sites first, and then to come to this museum to marvel at the finds from the excavations. One of the most captivating exhibits of the museum are the glass panels from Kekris, the eastern port of Corinth. They suffered a lot from the earthquake and salted water, as they spent centuries in the sea, but this is how they once used to look, and it's unbelievable what amazing pieces of art people could create almost 2,000 years ago. The panels were made of a type of glass called opusectile and were discovered in the underwater ruins in their original packing crates, suggesting they were made for installation but never installed. Unfortunately, the camera doesn't capture how beautiful these are, even in this state. You should see it with your own eyes. Another interesting thing to see in the museum are the Roman baths that are located at the further end of the archaeological site. The baths were constructed around 150 AD. It was a complex of luxury and beauty with high roofs and huge windows. The walls of the baths were decorated with marble, and the floors were covered with intricate mosaics and marble slabs. Today, the large marine-themed mosaic of the reception room is the most prominent feature of the bath, as it is the largest such mosaic found in the Eastern Mediterranean so far. Unfortunately, almost nothing remains of the Greek temples that used to stand here, the Temple of Poseidon and the Temple of Palamon, as well as of other structures of the complex. Yet archaeologists managed to figure out the layout of the buildings that once were here, and now you can walk the paths, read the information boards, and immerse yourself in the timeless history of this place. The Corinth Canal. Coming to the region, you obviously cannot miss one of the greatest engineering marvels of the 19th century, the Corinth Canal. The Corinth Canal is a stunning spectacle to an unprepared eye. It is especially beautiful on hot and sunny summer days and is definitely a must-see if you are in the area.
Today we take it for granted, especially people who live in this area. But it's been here only for a couple of centuries, which is not a big amount of time compared to how old some other structures in this region are. Just to compare, ancient Corinth is 8,500 years old. In the past, the Peloponnese was connected to the mainland with a relatively narrow strip of land called isthmus, which considered it a challenge for the sailors of the time. Altogether, it took humanity 2,500 years to make the long-awaited dream of connecting the Gulf of Corinth with the surrounding Gulf come true.
The Corinthian tyrant Periander was probably the first who decided to connect the Gulf of Corinth with the surrounding Gulf back in the 7th century BC. He wanted to cut a canal through the Isthmus of Corinth to avoid the long and dangerous trip around the Peloponnese and shorten sea travel. However, ancient engineers warned him of a difference in water levels that could cause flooding, and an oracle's prophecy discouraged him, claiming the gods had made the Peloponnese connected to the mainland for a reason. Beyond these concerns, local priests and citizens opposed the project. Priests feared losing valuable offerings, while merchants worried the city would lose trade income. Having met such resistance, Periander abandoned his dream to cut through the isthmus and built the diolkos instead. The word diolkos comes from ancient Greek and means to haul across. Basically, it was a paved road where ships were hauled overland on wheeled vehicles between the two ports. This solution worked well for small ships for many centuries until the complete destruction of Corinth.
Today, parts of this ancient road have been unearthed and can be seen by anyone who crosses the canal on its western end.
It is believed to have run parallel to the modern canal, though of course it wasn't straight as the canal, but rather curvy to circumvent low hills in the area, to avoid the struggle of pulling the ships up and down the hills.
Unfortunately, a big part of the diolkos was lost to the sea, but a great job was done, and today you can come here and see the remnants of the diolkos with your own eyes and read the information from the information boards. Now, what about the history of the canal as we know it today? Speaking about the Corinth Canal, we should mention Romans, and the first Roman who tried to separate the Peloponnese from the mainland was Julius Caesar. But he failed, just as Caligula did, and then Hadrian and Gaius. The most important step, though, occurred when Nero became the emperor of the Roman Empire. When he was at the Isthmia Games, he decided to proceed with this project and announced it to the Greeks. A few months later, in 67 BC, the project commences at an impressive ceremony. Nero worked with enthusiasm. Thousands of workers were involved, convicts and slaves who worked very hard. However, the turbulence in Rome forced Nero to return home, and despite the project's initial success, after Nero's death, the project was abandoned. Today, if you walk eastward from the Western Submersible Bridge, you can still see some remains of Nero's work.
You'll see the weathered remains of what used to be, most likely, a bust of Nero, a 2,000-year-old reminder of this ambitious project. 16 centuries later, in 1687, the Venetians tried to finish the project, but without any results. The Corinth Canal, as we know it today, was completed only in 1893. The project, which dug through the Isthmus of Corinth, was initially led by a French company, but faced financial and geographical difficulties before a Greek company took over and completed the canal under the guidance of Hungarian engineers. Though it is undoubtedly an engineering marvel, it is too narrow for modern cargo ships, so its use is limited to smaller vessels, primarily tourist boats. Finally, speaking about Greece, we cannot ignore the topic of beaches. The best beaches you'll find near Corinth, in my opinion, are to the northeast of the city. First of all, if you come to Corinth in summer, you should also visit Loutraki with its lone municipal beach, ideal for sunbathing and swimming all day long and at sunset, as sunsets here are very beautiful. If you pass Loutraki and go further northeast, you'll find many little wild beaches here and there, and all of them are amazing. To the east of Corinth, along the northern coast of the Peloponnese, there are many towns and villages that offer nice beaches too. They all are mostly pebbled, by the way. In high season, whatever village you go to, you'll find a lot of tavernas, cafes and beach bars offering a wide variety of snacks and drinks. During the off-season period, though, the whole coast from Corinth to Xylokastro is quite deserted, which has its own charm. If you ask a Greek what cities are worth visiting in the Peloponnese for a tourist, rarely will they tell you that you should visit Corinth. Yet, all the roads of the Isthmus will lead you to Corinth, as this is a big and vibrant city that can offer interesting leisure and plenty of opportunities for work, studies, treatment and shopping. It is the capital of the region and one of the biggest cities on the Peloponnese. There is even a shopping mall, and believe me, if you don't live in a major city like Athens or Thessaloniki, shopping malls are rare. Wandering the streets of Corinth, you'll see a lot of old, dilapidated, yet still magnificent buildings, statues that remind us of the great Hellenic past, cozy benches stacked here and there, perfect for watching sunsets. You'll also find a lot of places ready to serve delicious Greek fast food, bakeries that fill the streets with the aroma of coffee and croissants, stalls with fresh fish and vegetables, and people busy with their routines, hurrying up on their scooters with the coffee in their hand, people whose ancestors lived here for millennia, in the city which entered history as one of the greatest cities of ancient Greece. Even if today its pavements are worn and the streets are not perfectly clean, this is a city that was and will be. A city countless generations have called home, a city that keeps drawing us back time after time. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching it till the end. Stay tuned for new stories from Greece and see you soon!